What if the biggest lessons in life only become clear when there's no more time left to change them? That's the quiet truth many seniors discover, not in moments of crisis, but in silence. In the long, still hours of hospital rooms. In the fading conversations near a bedside. In the gentle, trembling voices of those who have lived almost every year they were given, now looking back with a clarity most of us never reach in our busy, noisy lives. This isn't just a video about regret. It's about elderly wisdom, the kind that only comes from seeing life's full circle. And today, you're going to hear the reflections of people who've lived, loved, lost, and learned what actually matters. Not theories. Not guesses. But truths spoken at the edge of life. So before we go further, take a moment. Like this video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. Where are you watching from? I truly want to know, because this is a global conversation, one we rarely get to have. Let's begin with the most haunting words whispered by the dying. I wish I had lived a life true to myself, not the one others expected of me. This was the most common regret recorded by Bronnie Ware, an Australian palliative care nurse. After years beside the dying, she noticed a pattern. People weren't talking about money, possessions, or promotions. They were talking about the lives they didn't live. Take Eleanor. She was 92. Raised in a small town, married young, loyal to tradition. But in her 20s, she dreamed of moving to Paris. She loved painting. But it was 1953, and her father said, "That's no life for a woman." So she stayed. Married a man she didn't love. Had children. Cooked meals. Played the role. "I don't regret being a mother," she told her nurse. "But I regret never giving myself a chance. I didn't just bury my dreams, I buried myself with them." Stories like Eleanor's are not rare. They echo through senior homes, hospice centers, and quiet bedrooms. They're the voices of those who followed the rules written by fear, family, or society, and now realize those rules came at a cost. If you're listening now and there's something inside you, a dream, a curiosity, a version of yourself you've silenced, know this, it's not too late. Living true to yourself doesn't require a dramatic change. Sometimes it just starts with honesty. With saying, "I don't want to pretend anymore." The second regret? It's simpler, but it leaves a deep scar. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Especially from men. Especially from those who thought work was love in disguise. Frank was a factory foreman. He worked 6 days a week for 40 years. Put food on the table. Paid off the house. He was proud. But in his final days, he cried, not because of pain, but because he had missed every school recital, every family camping trip, every quiet dinner just talking with his wife. "I thought being a provider meant being absent," he said. "Now I see, I traded time for money. And I can't get either back." This is the kind of senior health that isn't measured by blood pressure or cholesterol, but by memory. By the weight of missed time. By the echo of a child's laughter you can't quite remember. So let me ask you, what are you trading your hours for? Because when your hands start to shake and your days grow shorter, you won't care about that promotion. You'll care about the people you sacrificed it for. Now let's talk about connection, the kind that disappears before you notice it. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Loneliness is not just emotional. It's physical. Studies show that prolonged loneliness increases the risk of heart disease, dementia, and even early death. And yet, as we age, it's the friendships that slip away first. Margot, 79, once told me about her best friend from childhood, Doris. "We used to talk every Friday. Then once a month. Then, not at all." She paused. "I don't even know if she's alive." Friendships don't end in fights. They end in silence. In postponed calls. In "I'll reach out soon" that turns into 10 years. And yet those connections, however small, matter more than we think. Elderly reflections show that the strongest predictors of long life aren't just diet or genetics, they're relationships. The people you can laugh with. Cry with. be completely yourself with. So pick up the phone. Write the letter. Don't let ego or pride steal another decade of silence. And then there's this one. Quiet. Understated. But devastating. I wish I had let myself be happier. So many people spend their lives waiting. For retirement. For their children to be grown. For a day when the bills are paid and the stress is gone. But what if that day never comes? Harold, 86, said this with a smile. I waited for happiness like it was a paycheck. Then he paused. Turns out, it was always available. I just never cashed it in. Happiness isn't a reward. It's a habit. And the elderly, those who've lived the longest, say the same thing: joy is a decision, not a destination. Laugh when the moment calls for it. Dance even if your knees creak. Say I love you before the moment passes. There is nothing noble about holding back your joy. You deserve to be happy, not someday. Now. And that's where we'll stop today. If something in your heart stirred, if a memory surfaced, or a tear welled up, let it sit with you. Let it teach you. And before you go, like this video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Your voice matters here. This is Elderly Reflections, where every life lived becomes a lesson worth listening to.
There's a man named David, 85 years old, Brooklyn-born, a retired firefighter with hands that had carried too many people out of burning buildings. One evening, he leaned forward in his chair and said, "You know what I regret? I regret not saying I love you more." That brings us to one of the most tender regrets seniors carry with them at the end of life. I wish I had expressed my feelings more openly. David went on to explain how, in his generation, vulnerability was seen as weakness. Men didn't cry. They didn't say I miss you. They showed love through hard work, sacrifice, quiet presence. But deep down, he knew that the words mattered just as much. Maybe more. He told me about his brother, Jack. We fought over something stupid and stopped talking. I figured we'd make up at some point. But he got sick. Fast. And I stood at his funeral wishing I had picked up the phone. Too many seniors echo the same thing. They wish they'd apologized sooner. Forgiven quicker. Held their pride a little less tightly and let love lead the way. Senior health isn't just about diet and movement, it's emotional health, too. Suppressed emotions eat away at the heart. Science backs it up. Seniors who express emotions regularly have better blood pressure, reduced risk of depression, and even greater longevity. That's not just inspiration. That's fact. So if you're still carrying old anger, unspoken love, or words you buried out of fear, don't wait. Pick up the phone. Write the letter. Say the words. It's never too late to tell someone how you feel. Now here's another regret you might not expect. I wish I had traveled more while I still could. You know what they say. Travel isn't always about distance. It's about discovery. But so many elderly people, especially in their final years, look back and realize they postponed adventure for too long. Rosa, 83, from Naples, Florida, told me she always wanted to see Ireland. Her grandmother was born there. She kept a postcard of the cliffs of Moher on her fridge for 40 years. But we always said next year. When the kids finish school. When the bills are lighter. When the knees stop hurting. The knees never did stop hurting. And when her husband passed, the dream went with him. Even small travels, weekend getaways, road trips to nearby parks, a visit to that childhood town, those moments nourish the soul. They don't need to be fancy. Just intentional. And if mobility is limited now, explore in other ways. Virtual tours. Local gardens. Neighborhood walks. What matters isn't how far you go, but that you allow your mind and spirit to wander beyond routine. Every senior I've met who took the trip never regretted it. Only those who didn't. The next regret hits hard because it's something we all think we'll have more of. I wish I had taken better care of my body. Harold, 90, said it best. I treated this body like it was a rental. Turns out, you don't get a new one. He laughed, but you could see the ache in his eyes. Decades of smoking, little sleep, poor diet, and no exercise had caught up with him. Now, each step hurt. Every breath was work. The body doesn't ask for perfection. It just wants respect. And here's where the elderly wisdom becomes painfully clear. Most people don't realize how much the small habits matter until it's too late. A walk a day. Less sugar. More water. Good sleep. These aren't just tips, they're protection. They're years added to your life, and life added to your years. And seniors who made those changes, even in their 60s or 70s, saw improvement. You don't have to be young to begin. You just have to be willing. And here's one more regret, the one whispered most often, late at night. I wish I had believed I was enough. Do you know how many seniors die still feeling like they didn't measure up? Too many. They spent their lives comparing. Thinking they should have done more, been more. That their quiet lives didn't matter. That their kindness wasn't enough. That because they weren't rich or famous, they had somehow failed. But the truth? Raising a child is success. Staying kind in a hard world is success. Being honest. Loving deeply. Laughing often. Surviving loss. Making soup when someone's sick. Sitting beside a dying friend. These are the invisible victories that don't make headlines, but make life beautiful. The saddest thing is, people often realize their own worth after everyone else already saw it. So hear me now, you are enough. Not when you fix everything. Not when you're thinner or richer or more impressive. Right now. Just as you are. The regrets of the dying aren't just cautionary tales. They're gifts. Messages passed from one generation to the next, so we don't make the same mistakes. If this part has spoken to you, if it stirred your heart even a little, don't leave without liking this video and subscribing to Elderly Reflections. This is a space for truth, for healing, for reminding each other that it's never too late to live with intention. And please, drop a comment and let me know. Where are you watching from? Whether it's a small town, a big city, or a cozy cabin in the woods, I'd love to hear your story. There's something I've noticed sitting beside the beds of men and women in their final days. It's not the fear of death that haunts them most, it's the weight of what was never said, never done, never forgiven. As one elderly woman once told me, lying under a handmade quilt in her daughter's guest room, dying is easy. Living with unfinished business, that's what aches. That brings us to another deep and lingering regret many seniors share. I wish I had forgiven more, others and myself. Forgiveness, it turns out, is less about making peace with someone else, and more about releasing the pain you've carried for far too long. I met Charles, 88, in rural Kentucky. A strong man, thick hands, once a farmer. He hadn't spoken to his son in over 20 years after a falling out neither of them remembered in detail. Something about land, or money, or pride, he said, voice thin as paper. The years passed. The silence hardened. I thought I was punishing him, Charles said. But really, I was punishing myself. I missed watching him become a man. I missed birthdays. Weddings. I missed my grandkids. And now I'm dying, and I don't even know their names. He wept when he told me that. The kind of weeping that's not just sadness, but grief for a whole life that could have been different. Forgiveness doesn't mean you forget. It doesn't mean they were right. It means you choose your peace over your pain. And just as important, many seniors also said they wished they'd forgiven themselves. For the times they weren't perfect parents. For the decisions that turned out wrong. For the words they wish they could take back. But life isn't a test to pass. It's a path to walk. And we all stumble. So if you're holding shame, regret, or guilt for things you did, or didn't do, hear this. You are still worthy of peace. Forgive yourself. Not because you deserve it, but because you need it. the weight of the past is too heavy to carry into the future. Another regret that surfaces often in quiet conversations is this one. I wish I had spent more time with nature. This might sound small, even silly, compared to heavier things. But for many elderly people, especially those nearing the end, the memory of a tree in the backyard, a swing under the oak, a path through the woods, those are the moments that come back. Lucille, 79, lived her final months in a hospital bed with a window view. She told me, "All I want now is to feel grass under my feet one more time." She spoke of Sunday picnics, of chasing fireflies with her brother, of fishing in a pond that no longer exists. "I didn't know how rich I was back then," she said. To sit outside with nothing to do. Nature heals in ways modern life often forgets. And many seniors look back and wish they had taken more time to feel the sun, breathe the air, watch the seasons change, not just through windows, but with their whole body. So today, go outside. Even if just for 5 minutes. Listen to the birds. Watch the wind move the leaves. That, too, is living. And it's a kind of wealth that costs nothing, but gives everything. Now here's another quiet, aching truth from the mouths of those who know time best. I wish I had smiled more in pictures. You'd be surprised how many people say this. They look at old photographs and barely recognize themselves, not because of age, but because of how serious they always looked. "I didn't think I was pretty enough," one woman said. "I was always worried about my hair, my teeth, my weight. Now I just wish I had smiled." Photos are time capsules. And in the end, what people want to remember isn't how perfect you looked, it's how alive you were. Take the picture. Get in the frame. Smile. Even if you think you look tired. Even if you're in pajamas. Your future self won't judge. It will thank you. And finally, as we come to the close of this reflection, I want to share the most beautiful truth I've heard again and again. I wish I had loved more boldly. Not safer. Not more carefully. More boldly. Love is the only thing that endures. Not money. Not fame. Not the number of likes or the car in the driveway. In the final hours, people don't ask for their diplomas. They ask for hands, to hold, to squeeze, to say goodbye. There was once a man, Samuel, who had 3 great loves in his life. But he told none of them how deeply he felt. "I was afraid," he said. Afraid of rejection. Of messing it up. Of looking foolish. He ended up alone, not because he wasn't loved, but because he never dared to love fully. Don't hold back. Hug longer. Say "I love you" even when your voice shakes. Write love letters. Kiss your spouse like it still matters, because it does. Because in the end, the greatest tragedy isn't losing love. It's never letting yourself feel it in the first place. So if you're here, watching, breathing, reflecting, know this. You still have time to live without these regrets. You can choose to speak, to forgive, to explore, to love. That is the power of the present moment. The chance to rewrite your ending, even if the beginning wasn't perfect. Thank you for being here with me today. If this series has touched your heart, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to Elderly Reflections, and join this growing family of stories, healing, and life lessons from the elderly. And once again, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? What country, what small town, what quiet corner are you carrying your wisdom in? You matter here. Until next time, live gently, love deeply, and remember, the greatest gift you can give yourself is to live while you're still alive.